Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Please join us today in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we'll be studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, Chapter 3, the Bhūmi gītā, where the perfect solution has been revealed by Shukdev Goswami. Please join us for Jai Radha Madhav prayers. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Jai Radha Madhava Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. Together we'll sing it. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirye Shratam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto He Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhasatam Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Ruttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki. Hare Krishna. Please join us in the recitation of the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, Chapter 3, the Bhūmi gītā. Text 1. Shri Shuk Uvacha.
Shri Shuk Uvacha.
Dishtvatmani Jaya Vidgan.
Drishtvatmani Jaye Vyagran.
Nripan Hasti Buriyam.
Nripan Hasati Bhuriyam.
Aho ma Vijigishanti.
Aho Mam Vijigishanti.
Mrityo Kridanaka Nripaha.
Mrityo Kridanaka Nripa.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shuk Uvacha.
Shri Shukdev Goswami said,
Shri Shukdev Goswami said,
Drishtva,
Drishtva, observing,
Atmani,
Atmani,
of herself, Jaye,
Jaye,
in conquest, Vigran, busily engaged, Nripan, the kings, Hasati, she laughs, Bhū, the earth, Iyam, this, Aho, Aha, Ma, me, Vijigishanti, they are desiring to conquer, Mrityo, of death, Kridanaka, playthings, Nripaha,
the kings.
Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Shukdev Goswami said, seeing the kings of this earth busy trying to conquer her, the earth herself laughed. She said, just see how these kings who are actually playthings in the hands of death are desiring to conquer me. There is no purport. So please join us for Guru Pranati. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangu Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatadham Vande Shri Gurum Dīnataranam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we'll be studying Bhūmi gītā, the song of Mother Earth. Bhūmi is the name of the presiding deity of earth.
Canto.
And this is in 12th Canto, Chapter 3. The Bhūmi gītā is described by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. And Parikshit Maharaj is fasting for 7 days until death. So that's where Srimad Bhagavatam started. Actually the description started about Parikshit Maharaj, how he was cursed in the first canto, and then afterwards, in the second canto onward, Shukdev Goswami appeared and Srimad Bhagavatam recitation started by by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj at the bank of the Ganges. And here today we'll be hearing as how Shukdev Goswami is revealing in this chapter the solution, the perfect solution for the current age. And as we hear in this first verse itself, that Mother Earth, she is laughing at the kings, at the rulers who are appearing in the current times, in the Kali age, and not realizing that these kings, means again, these kings who are trying to rule over Mother Earth, and in the process they are missing out on the supreme solution that is available to all of us, the solution to all our problems. It's a perfect solution. And regarding this solution, I'll give you a hint. So Mother Earth is laughing about it, and there is the blessing has been given in this age, and this is where the blessing is, where the ship is there, as you can see, right? Can you see the ship over here? All right. So here you see, first of all, let me ask you, why is the ship golden? First question is, why is the ship golden? So this ship is as if it's made up of gold. It has a golden complexion. This reminds me, when I looked at this picture, reminded me that Shukdev Goswami in the 10th chapter, 10th canto, 14th chapter, after Brahma Vimohan Leela has been described by him, and Lord Brahma is asking for forgiveness, after that Shukdev Goswami reveals a very important, a very amazing verse, which helps us understand the blessing of at this current age, the perfect solution at this age. Samashita ye pad pallava plavam mahat padam pune yasho murari bhavam bhude vatsa padam param padam 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 yat vipadam natesham. Samashita pad pallava plavam. So Lord's lotus feet are like pallava, right? Pad pallava padam. So they are as soft as lotus buds, and they are the perfect boat. Samashita pad pallava plavam mahat padam punya shumarari, and he is the source of all the material and spiritual universes. Bhoktaram yagatapsam sarvalok maheshwaram. So he is the supreme proprietor of the spiritual as well as material universes. And Murari means he is the enemy of Mura demon. That's why his name is Murari. Then Bhavam Buddhir. So again, he is also the reason of this ocean of nescience. So again, in this ocean of nescience, when we take shelter, what does it reduce down to? Vatsapadam. So it reduces to the size of a calf's hoof print. Now if you have to cross over the calf's hoof print, then you can easily cross over. But this analogy can be very nicely understood if you have taken a boat ride. And one can attain Parampadam. One can attain the supreme abode, the topmost abode, Vaikuntha planets, not stay at this place where there is danger at every step. Padam padam yata vipadam natesham. So in this material world, no matter where you go, you will have danger at every step. Even, Indradev, he is feeling constant anxiety that someone is going to perform 100 Ashwamedha Yagyas and will take away his position. And we also discussed earlier as how demigods become jealous of rishis and saintly persons, and they try to make them fall. Again and again we have seen how Indra became insecure when he saw Narayana Rishi performing such great austerities. And he sent, Kandarpa, the Cupid, along with the Apsaras of the heavenly planets. And how, they were completely defeated by Narayana Rishi when they said, why don't you come? And they were completely defeated. And then that's how Urvashi came into existence. We hear about Urvashi from that point onwards. So many celestial looking ladies, they came out from the bodies of Narayana Rishi. And then they were serving all these demigods. And because of the beauty of these ladies, all the glories and all the effulgence of
the denizens of heaven, they lost immediately. They became, very sad looking at the beauty of these ladies. And at that time, Narayan Rishi said, why don't you select one of them to become the jewel of heaven? And they selected Urvashi. And we also have heard that in Ayla Gita, King Pururava, who was husband of Urvashi, is singing that it is very difficult to control the mind. So that was Ayla Gita, where again he is saying that mind is very difficult to control, and once one has controlled the mind and has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can attain perfection. So he himself is revealing. The king is revealing, King Pururava. And he was so powerful in Treta Yuga, he performed great yagyas, by Agni, he was able to invoke, and he was able to go in his very body to the Gandharva Loka, where, Urvashi resided. And at that place, where along with living with Urvashi, he realized that his senses would never be satisfied. So he came back to earth, and he was wandering on earth when he was singing this. So he was also an emperor of earth. And who is hearing all this narration? Parikshit Maharaj was also an emperor of earth. So amazing aspects are being discussed. And now Mother Earth, who in the beginning of 10th Canto was weeping and, in a merciful state, she had appeared in front of Lord Brahma to save her from the burden of earth, right? Who are all these kings who are actually demons by their nature, who were, causing torment. And it is said that Mother Earth can take, weight of millions and billions of living entities. That's not an issue if they are carrying out their duties nicely. But even the weight of one lyre is very heavy on her. So it is not the weight of a body that matters, but it is the weight of character, bad character, that is heavy on her. While that's why we say when you have good character, you elevate yourself, and in your company, everyone else also gets elevated. This is with reference to Mother Earth. That Mother Earth does not feel your weight, rather she feels like, like flower blooming when good character personalities, they walk on the earth. So this is also where, when I remember this verse and look at this picture, then I am reminded that Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he is also referred to as Golden Avatar, right? He is Patita Pavana. He delivers Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He delivers the fallen living entities. And so his complexion is golden. Now interestingly, if you paid attention, the castes, they are golden, and if you look at the picture behind that, there are also masks that you see, the ones that are taking the wind, they're bluish ones behind. So who wore at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time blue clothes, right? Who remembers who wore the blue clothes? Please write if you can remember it. None other than Lord Nityananda. And on this boat, there is a picture of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu with their arms raised. So, when you come to the temple and you bow down in front of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we call it touchdown, right? And you score 6 points on the spot. Because you have subdued, just by taking shelter, the 6 enemies, the 5 senses and the mind, which is the toughest one of all the senses. So sometimes, manashashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. Lord Kṛṣṇa says that these 6 senses, which include the mind. So that's where the reference is given. Now let's look at this analogy, that this boat is there in this ocean of nescience, and the current age, everyone is struggling in the waters, right? So if you have been asked to swim across the ocean, how hard you will feel, right? First of all, it's unlimited size. You don't know where it begins, where it ends, and you are being, constantly tossed back and forth by the waves in this ocean. And at such time, if you get on a boat, it is such nice, comfortable journey from that point onwards, right? So all you have to do is take the ticket to the boat. As soon as you come to this material world, that's why Srila Prabhupada said, in the very early stage itself, 5-year age itself, the children should be brought to Krishna consciousness as soon as they start to understand what's going on. Rather, devotees are so conscious that right after the Garbhadhan Samskar, they continue to just listen to Harikatha. So that in the womb itself, the baby is constantly listening to the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Constant chanting is going on. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That should be the mood. So again, those who are very careful in this age, they take care that the baby is from the early age itself as soon as possible. And if you have grown up, that doesn't mean that you have missed the boat. The boat is always on and it's coming frequently. Every time you are ready to hear, the boat will come to rescue you. So that is our good fortune. So let me cover the 2 blessings, the perfect solution. And we have been referring to these 2 blessings because they are very famous ones. Kalera dosha nidhe rajan asti hiya eko mahan guna kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. So this Kali age is an ocean of faults. Dosha nidhe rajan. So Shukdev Goswami is saying, oh my dear king, this Kali age is an ocean of faults. Asti here eko mahan guna. However, it has one great quality. And what is that quality? Kirtana deva Krishna. But just by singing the glories of Lord Shri Krishna, Mukta Sangha, one can become detached from this, the association of the 3 modes of material nature. Goodness, mode of goodness is Sattva Guna, mode of passion, Raja Guna, mode of ignorance is Tamo Guna. And Param Vrajet, and can go back home, back to Godhead, the supreme abode. So that is the great fortune. So that is the perfect solution. Now, sometimes people get bewildered that in this Kali age, the solution is so simple. What was the solution in other ages, right? Do you know what was the solution in Satya Yuga? Do you know what the solution is Tirtha Yuga? Because people are just sometimes perplexed. What was the solution to get perfection in Dwapar Yuga? Sometimes we see people come to the temple and they're meditating. And we ask, who are you meditating on? And they say, I'm meditating on myself. So it's very interesting because sometimes people get confused that they start thinking that the super soul in the heart is none other than me, and that I have merged into myself and attained perfection just by meditation. Sometimes when we hear these kind of reasonings, we can just sympathize with them. Yet at the same time, there is a very nice story. This guru, he was constantly meditating. And he was a Brahmanvadi, so he was constantly meditating on Brahman. And his disciple said, my dear Guru, spiritual master, what is the topmost meditation? He said, okay, come tomorrow morning. So this disciple happened to be a king. So he was very curious. He came early. And as soon as he came, his spiritual master came and he started, he had tulsi beads in his hand. He was chanting and, walking. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And then the king was saying that, okay, I'm early, so maybe my spiritual master is, practicing, getting ready to tell me the secret. And soon he started saying that his spiritual master was getting louder and louder. He was saying, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So the king was finding it very interesting, but he was thinking like soon he would understand that I'm here for the main, course today, the topmost meditation. And then to his amazement, instead of stopping and telling him, his spiritual master was dancing and he was jumping high in the air. He was saying, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this went on for 2.5-3 hours. Right? And then afterwards, his spiritual master was very happy looking at his disciple, the king. So the king came and said, my dear spiritual master, when are you going to tell me about the topmost yoga? Spiritual master, what do you think I was doing all this time? That is the topmost yoga. Chanting of the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Yes, Bhakti Yoga. Just why? Because when we are chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are actually praying to the Lordship through Mother Hara. Hara is another name for Radharani. So we are praying to her, then saying that, oh my dear Mother Hara, Radharani, please engage me in your service, please engage me in the service of Lord Shri Krishna. And then the third word that appears in this mantra is Ram, which can be referred to Lord Ramchandra, Lord Balaram, or Radharaman, Lord Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says that it doesn't matter because all Vishnu Tattvas are same, right? So they are identical. Their pastimes, their forms, activities are different, but the Tattva, Vishnu Tattva, is same. So Lord expands into unlimited forms, yet at the same time He is one, right? That's why we say that Lord Krishna never steps out of Vrindavan, yet at the same time He goes and kills so many demons when He goes to Dwarka. So that's another expansion of the Lord in Vasudeva Krishna form. So, and He also appears as Golden Avatar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, He comes with His all other associates like Nityananda Prabhu, the Adi Guru, Lord Balaram's expansion. And this boat is constantly awaiting us to get on, which is very interesting because sometimes we can be very curious. It reminds me of a very interesting incident. A man saw the boat just little away and he was afraid that he's going to miss this boat on that day. So he saw the boat was still like 2.5 meters away. So as he was seeing the boat and he was thinking, it seems like I'm going to miss my boat. So he jumped into the water. It was kind of like, not so shallow. And he started, running towards the boat. He got onto the boat. The boatman said, wow, you got it. So he said, yes, I didn't want to miss it. The boatman said, you wouldn't have missed it because we are about to dock. Right? But this man, in his hurry, he had, made all his clothes wet. But the amazing thing is he did not miss the boat. That's the important aspect, yes. So the boat is always coming, provided we take shelter. Right? We have to take the right attitude. And don't spend time, because what's going to happen? Every moment that you are not taking the boat, you are being tossed back and forth by the waves of this material ocean, the ocean of nascence, in this age of darkness. So as Mother Bhūmi, Mother Earth, is singing these prayers, so that's why the chapter's title is Bhūmi gītā, the song of Mother Earth. And she's laughing, as we hear in this verse, the first verse, that all these kings who are actually, they have very less life, about 100 years of age, and yet at the same time they are trying to lord over me. And so she, does not give the results that one is looking, all these impious kings are looking. Now we also talked about the symptoms of Kali age. And there were some very important aspects that were being identified, that in this age, almost all kings are, Shudras, all the rulers. Now when it is said that all the kings are Shudras, that means there is no Kshatriya. Well, not true. That is the influence of this age. However, it is the Shudras who have become the rulers who have taken away, the power of Kshatriyas by crookedness, by deceit, by being untruthful, by being politically intelligent, sometimes people say, which is another word for deceit. So many Kshatriyas we know of, right? Prithviraj Chauhan we know of, Shivaji we know of. We know of, Maharaja of Jaipur in 1972. In January, February time frame, when Srila Prabhupada, he went to Jaipur. There, he met the Maharani of Jaipur, and she was, when she met Srila Prabhupada, she was expressing as how her husband was, invited in a polo game in England, and they, it was very doubtful way that he died on that polo game, during the game. And it appears it was all planned. And right after his death, the very next year, all the kings and kingly provinces, all of them were declared to be abolished, and basically all the property would be taken by the government. So again, sometimes even in the part of democracy, things happen which are deceitful. So we have to be very, very careful that in this material universe, and especially in this Kali age, there is constant quarrel, there is constant deceit, there is constant challenges, and sometimes people say, well, if we are so concerned, then why don't we take care of becoming a socialist and try to protect people? Well, we are more of reformist, right? We are not so much focusing on the body, but rather we are focusing on the soul. We are not so much focused on polishing the cage of the bird, where the bird has been imprisoned, which is this body. Rather, we are focused on making sure that the bird is freed of this cage and can attain that supreme abode. Lotus feet of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, as this board depicts. Now, what is the nature of this material world? Why is everyone constantly being tormented in this material world? That is another question. So, there is a very nice story given. Srila Prabhupada used to talk about Ajgar Nyaya that Chanakya used to describe, and he would bring out those material examples and give them a spiritual form. So that is another expertise of Srila Prabhupada. He would twist the same analogy and then apply it spiritually. So in this particular case, we have talked about how Ajgar does not build a home, and how it takes away the home the mouse has, as well as eats away the mouse. But in this particular case, both are actually caught by the hunter in a basket. And now the snake is telling the mouse that, see, I can easily eat you, but I will not eat you. Rather, I will give you, let you live. All you have to do is make a hole so that we can both escape from this hole. The mouse is thinking, yeah, he can eat me, but he's not eating me. But I also have to get out of this hole. So let me, make a hole so that I can escape and he can escape after me as well. So mouse starts to make a hole. And as soon as the hole is big enough, the snake catches the mouse in its fangs and eats it up. And then it escapes through the hole. This is the nature of this material world. And it is very easy to get lost in doing so many activities that you forget what is the purpose of this life. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Right? What is the purpose? Why am I born here? Why is there misery in this material world? Why is there unhappiness? And we are all by nature anand bhayo abhyasat. We are all seeking happiness. Right? Say Hare Kṛṣṇa if you are seeking happiness. And so if we are all seeking happiness, why is there misery? It becomes very unnatural. It feels very unnatural, this misery, the old age. Jan mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudashanam. All these kind of miseries as birth, death, old age and disease. They look very unnatural. Why are they unnatural? As we are growing old, we see the body is growing old, but inside we feel that I am still the same person. Why is this happening? Because we are all eternal living entities. And we do not know death. We do not know birth. We are eternally existing. But because we are in this body, we think that I am this body. Right? Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridadeshe arjuna tishtati brahmyan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani maya. Yantra rudhani maya. Sitting in this yantra, in this machine made up of material energy. Right? That is the aspect. But when we think that I am this body, we are in conditioned state. Right? That is what is called materialistic mindset. That we are thinking that I have this body and this material world has been created by God and there is no God and everything is for me to enjoy. And now by hook and crook I want to enjoy things. That's the mentality. Now to be able to elevate above, we need to understand that if I am a living entity, then what is my purpose? Jīva Tattva Dās. Right? So our constitutional position, the Swarup we have, a very constitutional position is as an eternal servant of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. And Lord Kṛṣṇa is also known as Rishikesha. Rishikesha means the one who is master of the senses. So when we serve the master of the senses, all our senses are automatically satisfied. See, our senses, they want to see beautiful things, right? Our eyes want to see beautiful things. So we look at the form of deity and they feel satisfied. If you look at the material beauty in today's world, which is made up of earth, water, fire, ether, the gross material elements, your senses will become agitated. They get agitated. While we see at the deity form and they feel satisfaction. When we eat prasad, it is satisfying. So Mother Earth is singing about the nature of this current, kings. And then, what are the different ways people could attain perfection in different ages? That's given in the last verse. Shukdev Goswami, he identifies what those various practices are. Krite tadadhyayate vishnum tretayam yajato makehe dvapare paricharyayam kalo tadhari kirtanad. Krite tadadhyayate vishnum. In Krita Yuga, people could meditate. Right? By meditation, one can attain perfection. One could attain perfection in that age. And that meditation required tens of thousands of years. Right? Prachetas, they meditated for 10,000 years underwater. Right? If somebody asks us to stay underwater for half an hour, we won't be ready because we know what will happen. We cannot hold our breath for that long, most of us, I would say. There are some people who are expert in holding their breath. Then, there is always chance of saying, can you stay underwater for another 1,000 years? Because the lifespan is 100 years. Then they will also feel scared. So, Tretayam Yajatomake, in the Treta Yuga, the fire sacrifices were there. Right? Now, why are these different practices there? We will be discussing in this chapter. Those have been revealed. The secrets have been revealed by Shukdev Goswami. Dvapare Paricharyayam, Lord Kṛṣṇa himself appeared in Dwapara Yuga. So one could serve his lotus feet. And another way it has been revealed is various personalities, they went on pilgrimage, right? Even Lord Balaram went on pilgrimage. Vidurji went on pilgrimage. Again, Uddhav, he went to Badrikashram on the instructions of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So, and of course, I understand that it is with the coming of Kali Age. Lord Kṛṣṇa said as soon as he departs, Kali Age would come. And to be able to save oneself, one should reside at a dham. So it is also very important. The advantage of staying at a dham is that devotional service becomes spontaneous. You automatically are engaged in devotional service. You don't have to do extra endeavor. And just by engagement in devotional service keeps you focused on the purpose of life, which is to attain love of Godhead. Kala tadhari kirtanat. So the same perfection that one can attain in Satyuga by tapasya, by austerity, right? So that's also one of the religious principles. And in Treta Yuga, because of the cleanliness, one could engage in fire sacrifices. In Dwapara Yuga, because of the religious principle of mercy, one could engage in serving Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa and taking on pilgrimage, right? Taking on journey to various, religious places, holy dham. Similarly, in this Kali age, where the truthfulness is still there and is getting diminished day by day, one can just engage in chanting of the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and can attain perfection. Yet at the same time, Bhūmi, the Mother Earth she is laughing and she is saying, but in the current age, people are stubborn. They won't bow down to Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. They would bow down to the senses, but they won't bow down to Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. That's the sorry state she is laughing at. And people are stubborn. And Srila Prabhupada used to give a very nice story in this regard, the scissor philosophy. So there was these two, men. They were talking about what's the best cutting instrument. So they were on top of a bridge talking about this. One said, scissor is the best cutting instrument. Another one said, no, knife is better in cutting. So they started having this heated argument. One man was saying, no, Caesar is better instrument. The other one was saying, no, knife is better instrument. And they were getting little agitated. So now the man who was saying knife, he was a pretty big guy, right? So he said, if you don't agree knife is a better, instrument, I'll throw you off this bridge into the waters. So the river is flowing, beneath, under the bridge. So he said, I'll throw you in the river. But the other man was stubborn. He was like, no, Caesar is the best instrument. So what happens, of course, lo behold, the man who was saying knife, he picks up the other guy and he throws him off the bridge. And this man, he did not know how to swim. So as he fell in the water, he started sinking, right? As he being taken away by the current in the river. Yet at the same time, what does he do? As he is sinking, he raises his hand just above the waters, just like above the waters, and he says this, Caesar. So he's so stubborn that even when dying, he would not give up his idea. So that is the sorry state of man in this age. And Parikshit Maharaj, when he started hearing as how Mother Earth is identifying that the rulers have fallen in this age, he's very compassionate. Being compassionate, he says to Shukdev Goswami, oh my dear Lord, how can persons living in the age of Kali rid themselves of the cumulative contamination of this age? Cumulative contamination, right? So we always hear about cumulative interest in our maths class when we were kids. Now there is a cumulative contamination. So if you're talking about cumulative contamination, it's like contamination over contamination over contamination. It's like having this layered effect. So if somebody has put a sheet in front of you blocking the light from your vision, that's okay. But if somebody is putting sheets after sheets after sheets, that is very difficult, because now there are multiple objects obstructing the light from coming to you. So that is like, this is the darkness of ignorance in this age, because there are various layers of irreligious qualities that have overcome us in this age. Yes. So the 4 legs of religion are, Shukdev Goswami, he starts to reveal the answer. He identifies the 4 legs of religion: austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and charity. Wait a minute. Earlier we heard it is cleanliness, truthfulness. So again, austerity, instead of cleanliness, he says charity, then mercy and truthfulness. So all of a sudden, charity and cleanliness seems to contradict, right? Because in the first canto, again and again, it was said by Sutta Goswami that cleanliness is one of the leg of religion. Charity is an activity that is a reflection of cleanliness, right? You want to perform charity for your purification. So that's why it is here being replaced in case of cleanliness. And one of the important thing always remember is when you perform fire sacrifices, what happens? You give in charity right after the fire sacrifices. And there are wonderful examples, right? We know about the example of Maharaj Bali. He gave everything he had to Lord Vaman Dev. When Lord Vaman Dev asked him for 3 pieces of land, he knew he's going to lose everything. Yet at the same time, charity was an important aspect. Right after that yajna, that was an important aspect. King Nrupa, who had to, suffer in the body of a crocodile-like being in that well because of a mistake during the charity after having performed a yajna. So that is also, and Lord Kṛṣṇa himself releases him. So that is again, by the mercy of the Lord, King Nrupa is released from that yoni of a crocodile, of a lizard actually, a giant lizard. So, who was stuck in a well, and the well was not wide enough for his body to be comfortable, and he was suffering in there for a whole kalpa. A kalpa is 1,000 times the 4 ages, right? All the 4 ages, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga, when repeated 1,000 times, is 1 kalpa, 1 day of Lord Brahma, and equal is the length of his night. So again, we have heard time and again that charity is, an important aspect here in this chapter. And cleanliness is required for us to perform charity, for us to perform yajnas. So Shukdev Goswami now starts describing the characteristic of individual age. So he says in the Satyuga, everyone was a Hamsa, right? Hamsa, what is the characteristic of a Hamsa? Hamsa means swan. Swan has this characteristic: if you mix water and milk, swan would be able to drink the milk and leave the water behind. So the characteristic, why is this analogy, why people call in Satyuga as Hamsa, is because all of them were automatically devotee of Lord Shri Krishna. And they were constantly engaged in devotional service and seeking to attain perfection in that very life. And they had long lives, right? So they were meditating on Lord for tens of thousands of years. And so they were very peaceful, they were very sober, they were tolerant, right? They were always self-satisfied, like Muni. Muni means one who is self-satisfied. They were friendly to all living entities. They were equipoised. They were looking at everyone with equal vision, and they were very merciful. So all the religious principles were fully established. All the four legs of Dharma, the bull, were fully established. So in that age, people are Hamsas. But with the going of that age, Shukdev Goswami, he reveals that all the four legs were reduced by 1/4. So why was this happening? Because of the four pillars of irreligion which were rising, which were lying. So again, truthfulness will be destroyed by lying. Mercy would be destroyed by violence, right? And then dissatisfaction and quarrel. So these characteristics, these pillars of a religion started rising. And so the pillars of religion reduced by 1/4 the size. And at that time, what happened was the four varnas became visible: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. The Brahman are the scholarly class, Kshatriyas are the administrative class, Vaishyas are the mercantile men, and then we have Shudras who have a job to service all the other three varnas. Now, even though there are four varnas, Chaturvarna, Maya, Sheshta, Lord Krishna reveals, they were still going through samskara and getting second initiation. Only the Shudras would not get second initiation because they did not have that intelligence to come. However, Shukdev Goswami reveals that even in Treta Yuga, when the four varnas became visible and the Vedas became manifest, so again, Vedas manifested at that time. So people were attracted to perform religious, rituals and religious activities as per the Vedas. So during that age, most people were still Brahmanas. And Dharma, Arth, Kam, Moksha, they were the focus. People would engage in dharma, religiosity. Arth is economic development. Kam is regulated sense gratification. Not unlimited sense gratification as in current age people are doing, but regulated. So if one wanted to, have company of opposite sex, they would marry, and only for progeny purpose they would have, company. And then moksha is also very important to get liberation. So everyone was still focused on attaining liberation, to attain the supreme goal of this life, the purpose of this life, which is to get the love of Godhead. And so they were seeking, engagement in fire sacrifices and ritualistic activities as per the three Vedas. And then came Dwapar Yuga. So Shukdev Goswami explains that now further the pillars of religion rose so much that the four legs were reduced by half. So previously they were reduced by 1/4 and now 1/4 more. So now they are reduced by half. They were not fully established. And this, what was the cause? Because people in this age, they were, whatever the qualities they were showing, the irreligious qualities, dissatisfaction, untruth, violence and enmity. So this impurity that was being shown was causing them to fall down. So the falsity, gambling, destroys truth, right? Truth is diminished by falsity, by gambling. And by violence, mercy is destroyed. And by dissatisfaction, or intoxication. Austerity is destroyed because dissatisfaction is coming because when one becomes greedy, and greed is a kind of intoxication one can be engaged in. So that destroys austerity and quarrel, the illicit sex, fighting with one another. These destroy charity and cleanliness. So this is happening in Dwapar Yuga. Yet at the same time, in this particular age, people are still looking for name, fame and glories, right? So there were still Kshatriyas, they were prominent. So Brahmanas and Kshatriyas were more prominent in the society, and Vaishyas and Shudras were very few. So they were less. So as we are understanding in the Satya Yuga, the intoxication is destroying austerity. Treta Yuga, illicit sex is destroying cleanliness. In Dwapar Yuga with the coming, the meat eating is destroying mercy, because that's violence towards other living entities. And this Kali age, gambling is destroying truthfulness, the falsehood, deceit, all the lying, that is destroying this age. That's why sometimes people say there are so many sins, but why in the school teachers would always say that lying is the supreme sin, right? That Mahapap hai. So that's also identifying this particular age. So now there is very interesting aspect, the characteristic of people in this age have been identified. That the people are greedy, they are ill-behaved and merciless, and they fight with one another. So for no good reason. So that is the kind of characteristics people are showing. And most of the people, while in Dwapar Yuga were still, Kshatriyas, while in Satyuga, they were all Hamsas, and Treta Yuga they were mostly Brahmanas, but in this age they are Kalo Shudra Sambhavaha. Most of the people are Shudras. And if you look at the kind of occupations people take, Srila Prabhupada also elaborately, gave discourses on this, that in the current age, the people, general populace, they are looking at becoming doctors and engineers and basically labor class, right? Serving other people. So, when we were born, it's the first thing parents were looking for is somebody should become a doctor, someone should become an engineer, and that would be a great thing to do. Not realizing that both are occupations in Shudra class. And so that is the propensity. Automatically people are attracted towards these kind of activities. And the bad qualities in this age, they are also manifesting. But that doesn't mean that everyone is at that stage, right? You still have an opportunity to take to devotional service. You still have an opportunity to rise yourself. Sometimes people say, okay, if I am fallen, I am in such a state. It reminds me of an incident when Srila Prabhupada, he had dictated to his secretary disciple a letter, and there was an enclosure that was supposed to go with the letter, and the disciple had forgotten that to put in. So he came realizing that actually this enclosure should have been there in the letter. I did not do it. Srila Prabhupada said, so why did you not do it? So he's like, Srila Prabhupada, I'm so fallen, I forgot about it, So what should you do? The disciple is saying, no, I'm so fallen, I forgot about it, I'm so fallen. Srila Prabhupada against it. What should you do? At that time he realized that Srila Prabhupada is asking him how to correct your mistake. Not just because we are fallen that we will make mistakes, but we have to realize that it's a mistake and we should try to correct it. That was the instruction. He said, yes, I would write to this, the recipient of the letter, a letter of apology from my side, and enclose this. Enclosure means, again, I put it with my apology. And Srila Prabhupada became happy and he said, yes, do that. So that is where we get the instruction that we have to rise. Even if we are fallen, we have to rise above. And the simple way of rising above is chanting of the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. So in this ISKCON, in our society, it's very commonly said that, this is a very nice example being given again and again, that if we have two dogs, a good dog and a bad dog, which dog will win? So sometimes people are perplexed when they hear this question. The answer is very simple. It's deep though. the one you feed the most. So if you are constantly engaged in, supporting religion, austerity, cleanliness, mercy and truthfulness, if you are always following that path, then of course the good character will rise, make you elevate, right? Make you rise above your current consciousness to a higher consciousness. And you get param drishtva nivartate, you get higher vision, you get a higher taste. And once you are at a higher taste, why do you want to touch the abominable things? Automatically you become disinterested in all those abominable things and engage in the chanting of the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So in this way, Shukdev Goswami continues to describe the characteristics of the three ages, as how people were so happy, fixed in goodness in Satyuga. In Treta Yuga, the ulterior motives became evident and people were seeking personal prestige. And then in Dwapara Yuga, greed, dissatisfaction, false pride, hypocrisy, all of this they started manifesting. And in Kali age, things became abominable. Cheating, lying, sloth, sleepiness, violence, depression, lamentation, bewilderment, fear and poverty, they became evident. And now, in current times, if we see, people are so much, focusing on freedom. This is my right. So, it is very interesting then when we went for, to learn, to get the driver's license, one of the things we learned is that driving on the road is not a right. It's not a right. Rather, it's a privilege. So how can you be free? Because you cannot even drive your car, freely as you would like to. It's a privilege. And why is that? Because people are very much stuck with right. And this right that everyone is sticking is not with respect to the soul. They are looking at it from the individual freedom, from the bodily aspect. So people are very much agitated when somebody, interrupts their right, of speech or right of the views and their right of, way and so forth. And there's so many ways people try to, prove that, right is, might is right. So if you have might, then you are right. If you have power, you are right. So that's the influence of this age. But in reality, we should understand the right attitude, the right behavior, the right path is the might path, right? That's the mighty way of living. By staying on the path of religion, by observing austerity, by observing cleanliness, by observing mercy to all with that equal vision, and being truthful, even though we may have to suffer, yet at the same time. Now this truthful also comes with a context. You have to be truthful while you are balancing other three legs of dharma also. So that is an important aspect. Now the characteristics have been given that in this Kali age, men are short-sighted, they are, gluttonous, they are lustful and poverty-stricken. And the women, they are unchaste, they grow unchaste. So it is not that every woman is unchaste, it is just the influence that if women do not control themselves, then they become lustful and they become unchaste. And being driven by lustful men, also another place. Even Arjuna in Dwapara Yuga had this fear that if all the men are killed on the battlefield, then their wives, they would be, lured away by, not so nice men, and so there will be Varna Sankara, there will be unwanted progeny. So even in Dwapara Yuga, he had that fear. So this is very much evident. And in this current age, because of, the women being unchaste, there are many children, they are born out of wedlock, right, out of marriage. So before marriage itself, sometimes, they are trying to take precautions, and those are also abominable activities, abominable things that they are trying to do. Yet at the same time, sometimes children are born. And now these children, imagine what kind of homes they are getting, because they are treated by their own parents as unwanted. The parents did not want them, but then they happen to have come. And it is actually by the mercy of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa that they have received this human form of life. Yet at the same time, their psychology is that they are unwanted and they are constantly being tormented by such thoughts. and they are being treated badly by the society, not realizing, society sometimes does not realize that it is not the fault of the child, right? Rather, it is the fortune that this soul has received a human body and has an opportunity to cross over this ocean of nations by taking to devotional service. Rather, society starts judging the child as per the relationship with the parents. Gautam Rishi was once approached by a young man who wanted to become his disciple. So Gautam Rishi asked, "Who is your father?" So this young man said, "Oh, I do not know who my father is. My mother is a prostitute. So I'll go and ask her." So Gautam Rishi said, "Yes, do that and let me know." He went to his mother. He said, "My dear mother, who is my father?" His mother said, "My dear son, I was having so many relations with so many men, I do not know who your father is." So this young man came back to Gautam Rishi and said, "I asked my mother and she doesn't know who my father is." So at that time, Gautam Rishi's response was, "Oh, you are a Brahman because you are speaking truth. Come, I'll accept you as my disciple." That is equal vision. That is mercy. That is the right way of looking at living entity. One who is following the right path should be taken not by the looks, not by the audacity, not being able to just speak very nicely, but rather by one's character. That's why the spiritual master is also known as Acharya, because he's teaching us by his own behavior, by his own acharan, by his own behavior. So action speaks louder than words. And we should be following the footsteps of Acharyas, which is by following their instructions. So that is an important aspect in these times. And now many interesting things have been revealed that in this age, in Kali age, the cities are unsafe. What to talk about at night, but even during the days, there are cutthroat businessmen. They are constantly convincing people to purchase things such as beef, tobacco, liquor, and so many other modern products, which are actually very harmful to life. But capitalists, they convince people. They say, "Oh, you have to eat meat, otherwise you will not get enough protein. You have to, feed your kids eggs, otherwise they will not get proper nutrition." And they say that, okay, 1 glass of wine should be taken in the dinner. So these are all abominable things, but they are trying to find reasons because it's very good for health. Where has it been given? It has not been given anywhere. Rather, it is very harmful for health. So all these abominable things have been, propagated around and advertised in such a manner. And the brahmacharis, some have become ashacha, impure. And this has been explained very nicely in the purport that men are so much driven in this age by the co-ed education, having ladies as well as men in the same schools and colleges, boys and girls, and they are freely mingling with each other, which leads to the livelihood of very ashacha, means cleanliness. Though you cannot have austerity of mind, body and speech, and you are constantly in this company, are driven down because of the influence. And it has been seen that the boys' hostels are supposed to be one of the dirtiest places, dirtiest residence that you will find. And such in the student life, there's a brahmachari life, right? People would be unable to follow their vows. They would not be able to follow their vows of brahmacharya. And then householders, they will become like beggars. And it has been given that sometimes when devotees go to distribute books and they ask for donation in return for the books, which is like, we are giving Kṛṣṇa and asking for Lakshmi. It's a great deal. But then sometimes the householders, they respond back, "Actually, I should be getting the donation. You should be just donating all these books to me and not expect anything." So sometimes such is the abominable state, and we can understand this is the influence of this Kali age. And such people, if they are fortunate only, if they have mercy of Lord Kṛṣṇa only then they can rise above their current consciousness. And Vanaprasthas, they are living in villages. Now this has been, even though Shukdev Goswami is saying, it has been very nicely described in the purport that in today's times, the retirement life, people create these retirement homes and they have like village life with lot of nature in that. And people are spending the whole day in playing shuffleboards or golf and such kind of games. and spoiling their life, preparing to go to hell. And sannyasis, they become false and they become cheaters, so they are false. They just have the dress of sannyasis. That's why Srila Prabhupada, he established, by the rules and regulations in the International Society for Kṛṣṇa Consciousness, the 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, and chanting minimum of 16 rounds every day. And on special days like Ekadashi, Janmashtami and other auspicious days, and especially Purushottam Mass is going on, such wonderful times, everyone should chant minimum of 25 rounds daily. And otherwise, sannyasis who do not follow such injunctions have fallen down and they become greedy for wealth only, and they are using their dress just to influence people to get name, fame and glories. So again, we have to be very, very careful in this current age. We have to look at people's behavior. Action speaks louder than words. What are the activities people are doing? Who are they inspiring? What are they inspiring? What is the goal behind their various activities? That is an important aspect that we should be looking at. Now, Shukdev Goswami asks Parikshit Maharaj, then my dear king, please try to understand this important aspect, that you have to constantly meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, constantly have your mind engaged in remembering name, form, activities, pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and at the time of death you will be able to attain the Supreme Abode. When we hear this, what does it remind us? The instruction from Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa to Arjun in Bhagavad Gītā. Antikale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastatra samshayah. Antikale cha mameva. Whoever remembers me at the last moment of his life, at the moment of death, will automatically come back to me and will not stay in this material world, would not be reborn in this material world, but would attain my supreme abode. So that is the important lesson that we learn, that we have to constantly meditate on the name, form, activities, pastimes of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa and engage in devotional service, so that we can get onto this cruiser, this boat of Sankirtan Yajna, and go back home, back to Godhead, simply by chanting the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Please join us for Nasiba Devati. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai. Namaste Narasimhaya, Namaste Narasimhaya.
Shri
की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, शीला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.